Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, gonna be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Saturday, April the 23rd. I do have a bigger slate Saturday, 4 games on Saturday, so a little bit more to talk about. As always guys, we're gonna go through each one of these 4 games. We're gonna break down each team, kind of give my early thoughts, what I do like, taking a first look at the slate on Friday night. I do want to mention that, since it is a 4 game slate and since it's the weekend, the NBA, they do kind of schedule the games out all throughout the day. So this slate actually does start at 2 o'clock Eastern time. So a little bit of an early start. We got some early games. Then, leading up to the night game, Memphis, Minnesota, that starts at 10. But going to be games on all day. Should be a lot of fun. Hopefully we get no blowouts tonight. That Bulls-Bucks game blowing out last night was just so brutal for DFS, for me, and for prize picks as well. Just unfortunate that we're having, 30-point blowouts in the playoffs when games, have 2-point spreads. It's just unreal. But hopefully all 4 of these games today stay close. We can get some good action. But we're going to talk through these games, talk through what stands out to me, what I see from each team. Just before we do get started, guys, hit that like button down below. I do always appreciate the likes. If you are new here, make sure you click that subscribe button as well. I do upload these NBA videos daily. I've been trying to upload every single day during the playoffs. So far, been able to do that, and I want to keep the streak going. So appreciate all you guys, checking out these videos. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Also, go check out the sponsor of the video, Prize Picks. So Prize Picks is a player prop based DFS site. It is very simple. You just pick the over or the under on players' projections. They do already have some stuff up posted for Thursday's games. They don't have, they don't have their full board posted right now. They do have some projections up for Philly, for Brooklyn, Boston. You can take a look at their board, see some of the props they have available. Obviously, as we get closer to the start of the games on Saturday, they will add their full board. They'll have a ton of projections up. You're just picking over or under. If you have a lean one way or the other, you can make up to 2 picks, or you can make up to 5 picks. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money. You can mix and match sports as well. Prospects does offer a ton of other sports outside of just NBA. Give them a try. Sign up. Use code NOAH. They will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And as always, I will be sharing a couple of my favorite plays today for Prize Picks in my video that I'll probably upload later tonight. So if you're watching this video and you want to check the Prize Picks video, that should be posted on the channel shortly after this goes up. But start off with the first game of the day, the Sixers and the Raptors. So right now, Philly leads this series 3-0. They're looking to finish off the sweep here. We did get word from Philly, kind of important, that Joel Embiid right now is dealing with a torn ligament in his thumb. I mean, that doesn't sound good, but supposedly he's going to continue to play through the injury. It's just kind of a pain tolerance thing. Could be one of these things, maybe during a game he hits it, bends it the wrong way or something. Little bit of risk, more than normal with Embiid right now, just because he is dealing with an injury. But I still think he plays big minutes here, as long as he doesn't re-injure his thumb or anything. Obviously, Philly, they want to close out this series. They want to get Embiid as much rest as possible for the second round. So I would expect Embiid to play 38 to 40 minutes here. Toronto's done a pretty good job of slowing him down. Embiid really hasn't had a massive game yet in this series. His best game was last game when he had 54 DK points. On this slate specifically, I think there's other guys I would rather pay up for that we'll talk about later, but Embiid is playable. James Harden at 9,100. This price tag does kind of look appealing. I have had some interest in Harden the last few slates just because this price tag is kind of low for him. We know he's going to play big minutes as well. Maybe with Embiid dealing with his thumb injury, maybe we see Harden be a little bit more aggressive offensively. So far in this series, he's kind of been mediocre. He was solid in game 1, but since then, last 2 games in the series, just 38 and 42 DraftKings points. I still think Harden is playable. He's someone you can definitely go to. I don't know if there's any standout plays coming from the Sixers, but obviously Harden and Embiid are viable. Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey, they were both great in games 1 and 2. They came back down to earth last game. Maxey had 25 DK points in 47 minutes, and then Tobias Harris also played huge minutes, 47 minutes in the overtime, and he had 33 DK points. I've been saying it in my videos, I don't think these guys are going to continue to put up 40, 50 fantasy points a night. When they were playing with Harden and Embiid during the regular season, most nights Tobias Harris would put up 25, 30 DK points. Maxey would put up 25, 30 DK points. At their price tags, they're not standout plays for me, but they will get really big minutes. I mean, Maxey played 47 in overtime, so he played 42 in regulation. Tobias Harris played 42 in regulation. Right now, Doc Rivers is just running his starters into the ground, and you're basically seeing 40 minutes from all the starters. Embiid, Harden, Maxey, Harris, Green. They're all playing 35 to 40 minutes each. Not a ton of guys are playing many minutes off the bench. So I think the starters are playable. None of them stand out as core plays. Danny Green, do want to mention just because he's going to play huge minutes. He played 38 minutes in game 2. He played 46 minutes in overtime last game. Obviously, with no Matisse Thybulle, that just opens the door for Danny Green to play even more minutes right now. And obviously played 41 in regulation last game. Danny Green's never been a great point per minute player. He's just kind of a guy that stands in the corner and shoots threes. He's a very low usage player. But it's hard to find guys this cheap that are going to play 35 to 40 minutes. So that definitely makes Danny Green an okay value play just because he's going to get a ton of minutes. No one off the bench, though, is going to play enough to be viable. So let's move on to the other side of this game and talk about the Raptors. So I do want to mention for the Raptors, Scotty Barnes is listed as doubtful for today. I have a feeling Scotty Barnes could maybe play. I mean, obviously their season's on the line. If they lose this game, their season's over. I'm sure Scotty Barnes probably wants to play if he can. Given that he's doubtful, I just assume he's out. Usually when guys are doubtful, they don't play. Doubtful basically means not expected to play. But it is the playoffs. Guys will try and play through injury if they can. I would think the Raptors maybe are looking for towards the future, though. I mean, obviously this is their young rookie. They don't want him to re-injure this ankle and it be way more serious than it needs to be. So they probably just sit him out here if I had to guess. So with Scotty Barnes not playing, most likely not playing, I should say, that's going to open up plenty of minutes for guys like Siakam, VanVleet, OG, Gary Trent. I mean, these guys have been playing huge minutes. Last game in overtime, Siakam played 48 minutes, so he basically played 43 minutes in regulation. Fred VanVleet played 45 minutes in overtime, so 40 minutes in regulation for him. OG played 41 minutes in regulation. Gary Trent, he played 40 minutes in regulation. So I think if this game's close, you're getting 36, close to 40 minutes from all four of Siakam, VanVleet, OG, and Trent. And Siakam and VanVleet, they might play over 40 minutes. So you can definitely look to these Toronto guys. I think VanVleet is my favorite. 7,900 for VanVleet. He's consistently been kind of paying off this price tag or getting close to value. Obviously, he's had some very poor shooting games. He shot 30% from the field in game 2. He shot 23% from the field in game 3. But the minutes have just been so massive for him. And at 7,900, when he's playing 40 plus minutes a night, I mean, VanVleet can easily pay off 7,900. It just comes down to him actually making shots. Which is something that he struggled to do lately. But the minutes are going to be massive for VanVleet. The opportunity is going to be there. He's just going to be on the court so much that it's hard for him to really disappoint at the salary. Now, is he going to put up 60 DraftKings points today? Probably not, but I think he's just going to play so many minutes that he probably could grind his way to 38, 40 DK points easily. And if he can get hot from the field, he does have 50 point upside, 50 DraftKings point upside. He can have good scoring games. He's still a really good shooter, even though he's had a very inefficient shooting series so far. I think the upside's still there for VanVleet, and the minutes are massive too. So I'm still kind of interested in Fred VanVleet. I do have some interest in him at first look on Yahoo. He's very affordable over there, so I definitely like a Fred VanVleet on Yahoo at $29. Again, Siakam gonna play huge minutes. He was terrible last game, only had 28 DraftKings points, but played 48 minutes in regulation. So minutes are going to be massive for him. Don't love the matchup against Embiid, but he's going to play a ton. OG's going to play a ton. I think now that his price tag is up to 6,700, he's not a standout play for me. I really liked him, in game 2 of the series when he was 5,800, when he was 5,500. Now that he's 6'7", I think he's priced about right, but still plenty of upside for OG because he's just going to play so much. And then Gary Trent, he's the one guy that really stands out as just being too cheap. So obviously in game 1 of this series, he was pretty disappointing. They got blown out too. Game 2, he was questionable with an illness, ultimately wound up playing, and then he played 10 minutes and, had to leave the game because the illness got to him and, just couldn't play through it. Well, last game, he was off the injury report. He was good to go, and he played 40 minutes in regulation, 45 minutes in overtime. So clearly this illness that Gary Trent was dealing with, I guess it's behind him now. Given that he played 40 minutes, he had a good game too. He took 19 shots. His usage, when he's out there, he's going to shoot the ball. That's what he's out there for. He's not going to do too much else, so he's a little bit of a scoring-dependent player. If he's not hitting his shots, there is somewhat of a low floor for Gary Trent, but he's just going to play so many minutes, and he's 5,200. It's really hard to find guys at 5,200 that are going to play probably 40 minutes. So I'm kind of into Gary Trent today. I think with the fact that he played that many minutes last game makes me assume this illness that he was dealing with is kind of behind him now. Obviously, if Scotty Barnes sits, there's just a little bit more usage available for everyone. And Trent is definitely too cheap, now that he's playing these massive minutes. So I do like Gary Trent quite a bit today. I like him on Yahoo as well, $20. I think it looks like a pretty solid shooting guard option over on Yahoo. And then looking at the value from Toronto, Press Achua, he'll probably start again, or he may start. I can't remember I think they started Kim Birch last game. Honestly, I can't remember. Yeah, they did start Kim Birch last game, but Kim Birch only played 14 minutes, so even if Kim Birch starts, I probably wouldn't go there. Achua did play a lot, though, off the bench, played 36 minutes. He probably gets, 30 minutes, if I had to guess, like high 20s, low 30s. Obviously, that's assuming that Scotty Barnes doesn't play, and for now, with him doubtful, I'm expecting him to be out. So if Barnes is out, I think 4,300 for Press Achiuwa is totally fine to go to. I was pretty high on Chris Boucher last slate after he had that big game in Game 2. Well, last game he only played 17 minutes just out of nowhere. I mean, Boucher always has upside when he gets minutes. His minutes have always been tough to predict. I would think he plays like at least 20 minutes here, especially with their season on the line. I mean, they kind of need offense from somebody, and Boucher can provide that. So Boucher's a risky value, but he definitely has upside if the minutes are there. Achiuwa is probably the safest value from Toronto, and I don't think I'm going to anyone else. So let's move on to the next game, Dallas and Utah. So looking at Dallas today, got to keep an eye on the status of Luka Doncic, who is questionable. Luka was questionable for Game 3, ultimately did not play, and Dallas was able to come out with a huge win in Game 3. They can really really get the upper hand in the series if they can win this game too. And I think the Mavs are going to play Luka here so they can try and win this game in Game 3 and then close out the series at home in Game 5 or in Game 4. Game 5. This is Game 4 of the series. So this is a huge game for the Mavs if they can go up 3-1 and then go back home with a chance to close out the series. That's big for them. So I think Luka probably plays today. The most recent update we got was that Coach Jason Kidd said Luka will go through full practice Friday, be a game time decision. He's officially questionable. Given that is going to go through a full practice on Friday, makes me assume he's trending towards playing. So I'm expecting Luka to play. If he does play, that pretty much takes Brunson and Dinwiddie out of play. I know Brunson and Dinwiddie have been great these last few games without Luka, but when Luka comes back, like Luka's just such a high usage player that it really affects Brunson, it really affects Dinwiddie. Neither one of those guys are going to be playable at their price tags. If Luka sits again though, if Luka's still out, then yeah, Brunson and Dinwiddie I like a ton. I think both would be great plays. If Luka does play, I don't know if there's going to be a minutes limit for him. Like I would think if he's playing, he's good to play full minutes. He's obviously a riskier pay-up option just because there is a little bit of uncertainty of how many minutes he can play, and it's his first game back from injury. But I think at 10-5, like we know Luka can go out there and just break a slate and can put up 75 fantasy points any night. He's not my favorite pay-up option today, but I at least think he would be playable if we do get word that he's not limited. Outside of Luka and the other guards, I mean Dorian Finney-Smith I want to mention just because he's playing so many minutes. 44 minutes in Game 1, 42 minutes in Game 2. He literally almost played the entire game last game. He played 47 out of 48 minutes. So Dorian Finney-Smith is going to play like close to the entire game. He's not a great point per minute player, but he's 5,300, and it's really hard to find guys at this price tag that are going to play as many minutes as DFS will. So the minutes alone make Dorian Finney-Smith viable. Reggie Bullock should play a ton of minutes as well. He's played over 40 in every game, 44, 45, and 44 minutes for Bullock. The Mavs, I mean, they're just like really leaning on their starters. I mean, really nobody off the bench outside of Maxi Kleber is getting many minutes. Like Bertans is playing just like 10 to 15 minutes. Josh Green's getting like a few minutes. I mean, 19, 6, 10. Trey Burke, I know he got in the rotation last game, but he only played 4 minutes. So you're just going to see massive minutes for Bullock, for DFS. Brunson and Dinwiddie should still play good minutes even if Luka returns. It's just their usage would go way down. Luka, if he plays, I guess plays full minutes. So that's really it for Dallas. I don't see anything else I'm interested in on this team. Maxi Kleber coming off the bench, he's fine. He did get into foul trouble last game and really got his minutes cut down. He's been pretty productive in the 2 games he's played lately. He's been getting a lot of open looks. He shot 8 for 11 from 3 in Game 2. He shot 4 for 5 from 3 in Game 3. At 4,800, I don't hate Kleber as a value option, but he's a guy that I do kind of question the ceiling just because he's never been a super productive player. But he can space the floor, and we've seen right now the Mavs are just trying to get Rudy Gobert out from under the paint. They're putting Kleber out there and letting him space the floor, and Kleber's getting a lot of open looks. It just comes down to if he can make them or not. But at 4,800, he's playable on a 4-game slate. That's really it though for Dallas. Let's go ahead and talk about Utah now. So looking at the Jazz. Donovan Mitchell at 8,700, I have no issue going to on this slate. I was pretty high on Mitchell last slate. He was solid, had 45 DK points, played 39 minutes. His usage so far in the playoffs has been massive. He's just been playing huge minutes, taking a ton of shots. Pretty sure he's actually had the highest usage rate so far in the postseason. So he's just going to play a ton. He's going to get a ton of usage, take a ton of shots. He's definitely in play at 8,700. He's probably my favorite play from Utah in general. Rudy Gobert, his minutes have kind of been trending down, and he really hasn't been that great in the series. Gobert is one of these guys that still does have a lot of upside because he's a great rebounder. He's a good shot blocker. He can obviously dominate in the paint. But the Mavericks have done a really good job, getting Gobert out from under the paint, just stretching the floor, and we've seen Gobert really struggle in this series. So he's definitely a riskier play. I think he will be very low owned. So if you want to take a shot on him at low ownership, it's fine. Bojan, he's been solid. I mean, he's been playing huge minutes, been scoring a ton. Last game, he did lose some minutes due to foul trouble. He had 5 fouls in 32 minutes, but still scored 35 DraftKings points. I mean, his usage has been solid, taking plenty of shots, playing huge minutes. I think as a mid-range small forward option, no issues going to Bojan. Mike Conley bounced back last game. He was really bad in game 2, was in foul trouble, but last game bounced back, played 35 minutes, had 37 DK points. Conley is a pretty productive point per minute player and is a guy that can average around a fancy point per minute. His minutes have kind of been all over the place. During the regular season, they weren't super high, but I think now in the playoffs, we will see Conley play fairly big minutes. And after he played 35 last game, I think he gets close to 35 minutes again. At 5,500, he might be my second favorite play on Utah behind Donovan Mitchell. I think it's close between him and Bojan, as 1A, 1B between Bojan and Conley. But I think both those guys are solid options. Not a ton else stands out from Utah. Jordan Clarkson off the bench is playable, but his minutes have not been that high in the series. He did play a few extra minutes last game because of the Bojan foul trouble. But I'm not super high on Clarkson. Royce O'Neal should play 30 minutes, but it's Royce O'Neal. I mean, the dude has no upside. You're going to need him to get hot from 3 to luck into 9 rebounds like he did in game 2. Just a very low usage player that I don't really ever get excited to roster. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about Boston and Brooklyn. So looking at Boston today, kind of big news with Robert Williams expected to return. It looks like he's going to play but be limited. He's listed as questionable, but the word is that he's expected to play. Don't know how many minutes Robert Williams plays today. I don't think he's really going to be viable for DFS, but Robert Williams coming back definitely hurts Al Horford. It hurts Daniel Tice as well. I think at their price tags, Horford and Tice are probably out of play for me. I don't think either one stand out as great options now that Robert Williams is back. I don't think Robert Williams coming back really affects Tatum, Brown, or Smart though. So I think those guys are still in play. Tatum, he's going to have a massive role. He's going to play massive minutes. He's played over 40 minutes in both games in this series. We've yet to really see that huge ceiling game from Tatum, 60, 65 DraftKings points, but we know he has that kind of upside. So Tatum is definitely in play for me. There's a few other studs I prefer over him, but no issue going to Tatum. Jaylen Brown's going to play probably 40-plus minutes at 8,200. Price tag's come down a little bit off of what it was the last few games. So I think Jaylen Brown looks a little bit more appealing now that he's 8,200 and not 9,100 like he was in Game 1 of the series. And then Marcus Smart, his price tag has come up since the series started. He was 5,500 in Game 1, and he was very chalky and had a huge game. Last game, he was kind of disappointing, but he's another guy that's just going to play huge minutes. I mean, he played 36 in Game 1, 36 in Game 2. My guess is we get 36 to 40 minutes from Marcus Smart. At 6,400, I think that's probably where he should be priced. So Smart's not a glaring play to me, but he's viable just because he's going to get a ton of minutes. And that's really it from Boston. I'm not really looking to anyone else on this team. So let's talk about Brooklyn now. And looking at the Nets, I mean, KD and Kyrie, down 0-2 in this series. These guys are going to have to just do everything for Brooklyn. If Brooklyn wants to, come back in the series, I mean, they need to win this game. I'm pretty sure no team has ever come back from an 0-3 deficit in the playoffs. So this is basically a must-win game for Brooklyn. I mean, KD should play huge minutes. I know he's been terrible so far in the series. He's been underperforming, very underwhelming. I think KD's going to have a huge game at some point. Could it be this game? It definitely could. KD's just such a talented player. He's such a good scorer that we've seen him just completely take over at times. He did it last year in the playoffs. I mean, he just had some massive games last year in the playoffs. Was playing the entire game. I wouldn't be surprised if KD plays close to the entire game today. He might play 45, 46 minutes because they need him to. I mean, Brooklyn they don't get enough offense out of these other guys. I mean, they need Kyrie and KD to just do everything. So I think KD, even though he's been bad in the series, I think he's still a very good pay-up option. I think Kyrie's still a very good pay-up option as well. He should play huge minutes, probably close to 42, 44 minutes. Again, he was kind of disappointing last game, only 22 DK points in 40 minutes, but the usage Kyrie's going to get, the minutes he's going to play, make him once again in play for me. I still prefer KD over him straight up, but I definitely think Kyrie's viable. And then the rest of Brooklyn, Bruce Brown was really good last game after he was very disappointing in Game 1. His minutes have been really good. He's been playing huge minutes. 6,300 though, that's just a tough price tag to pay for Bruce Brown. I know he's had some huge games, but this is just not a guy that I really ever consider paying 6,300 for. He's never been a guy that's going to put up 50 DraftKings points a night. Usually a good game from Bruce Brown is 30 DraftKings points. And at 6,300, I mean, you kind of need him to put up like 40 to be worth his salary. So I've kind of been just fading Bruce Brown. I know it's definitely burned me a lot, but he's just a guy that I really don't ever consider paying 6.3 for, especially when KD and Kyrie are both healthy. He'll play a ton of minutes, and obviously he could, luck his way into 45 DK points again when he's playing so many minutes. But I'll just keep fading him at this salary. I just think he's too expensive right now. Andre Drummond, I mean, his minutes have just been way down in the series. He did play 24 last game, but he wasn't super productive. It seems like the Nets are set on playing Claxton more over Drummond, and I think Claxton probably plays more minutes than Drummond once again. So Drummond's a tough sale. He always has upside if he gets the minutes, but the minutes just haven't been there. And then Claxton, he'll probably play 25 to 26 minutes with Drummond getting like 20 to 22. Maybe Claxton plays a few more minutes. If I had to pick one of the centers in this game to go to, one of the Brooklyn centers, I would prefer Claxton over Drummond, but neither one I love at their salaries. And then you got like Seth Curry and Goran Dragic, who are okay value plays. Neither one offer a ton of upside, but Seth Curry should play like 30, 32 minutes. At 4,300, he's cheap enough that at this salary, he is firmly in play just due to the minutes he's going to play. And then Dragic probably plays like 20, 25 off the bench. He's been solid in the minutes he's gotten so far in the series at 4,100. I think he's an okay value play. So I don't mind going to Curry or Dragic. They're both viable. But really the standout plays from Brooklyn are the stars here, KD and Kyrie. And I think my favorite's probably KD if I had to pick one of the two. But that's it for this game. Let's move on to the last game of the night, the late night hammer, Memphis and Minnesota. So Memphis, got a huge win last game, big time comeback there against Minnesota to go up 2-1 in the series. Ja Morant, he was kind of mediocre last game, still scored 53 DK points though, did have a triple-double. He only scored 16 points and he shot the ball pretty terribly, but luckily was able to get 10 rebounds, 10 assists, so he had a decent fantasy game. I mean, so far in the series, Ja just, he's been okay, but we've yet to see like that massive game from Ja. 51 DK points in game one, 51 in game one, 52 in game two, and then 53 last game. I think Ja's going to play huge minutes. I like the pace of this game. I mean, this game, once again, has the highest total on the slate, and I'm pretty sure like every time this game, like the Memphis-Minnesota game has been on a slate, it's always had the highest total, just because these are two of the faster-paced teams. So far in the postseason, these are the two top teams in pace, Memphis and Minnesota, and I think during the regular season, Minnesota led the league in pace, and I think Memphis was like top 5, so it should be a very fast-paced game. It should be a high-scoring game. Hopefully it stays close. Ja Morant, even though he's kind of been mediocre in the series, he's still a guy that I have a lot of interest in. He probably is my favorite pay-up option on the slate. It's close between him and Kevin Durant. I think I give a slight edge to Ja. I definitely like Ja, though, at 9,700 on DK, and I do like him on Yahoo as well. He's definitely more affordable over on Yahoo. He's only $43 on Yahoo. If you look at the other studs on the slate, like Luka's 55, Embiid's 54, KD's 51, you're not having to pay $50+ for Ja. He's only 43, so I definitely like Ja. I'm at $43 on Yahoo. And then the rest of Memphis, you've got Desmond Bane at 6,200. He's been okay in the series. He did have a huge game last game in game 3. He played 40 minutes, had 45 DK points. The minutes for Desmond Bane, they're never like massive. He never plays like 38, 40 minutes, but it was good to see him play 40 minutes last game. Maybe that's something that we'll see continue for Desmond Bane. He's obviously a very good scorer, and he can get hot from 3. He can have those big games. Since he is coming off a big game, his ownership probably will be a little inflated today, but is a mid-range shooting guard option. Like, I don't mind Desmond Bane on this slate. He's definitely viable. I think the matchup does set up well for him, and the pace of this game sets up well for his skill set. Triple J, I was pretty high on last slate, especially once we got word that Steven Adams was not starting and that Triple J was going to start at the 5. Triple J's numbers when he starts at the 5 are really, really good. He's had some really big games in the past when he has started at center. His rebounds just see a spike, and his fantasy point per minute production sees a spike as well. But my God, this dude cannot stay out of foul trouble. Like, if you ever rostered Triple J or if you ever bet on his props, watching these games is just so annoying because the fouls he commits are like the dumbest fouls I've ever seen. Like, he'll literally be driving with the ball and just like elbow someone in the chest. It's like, what are you doing? And then he'll be guarding somebody, a guy driving right at him, instead of just putting his hands up and backing up. He'll just slap at the ball. It's like, and he'll do this when he has like 3 fouls. Like, the third quarter will start. He'll know he's in foul trouble already. He's got like 3 fouls, and he'll just pick up the stupidest fouls. It's like he wants to foul out. It's so weird. This dude can't stay out of foul trouble. He's had 5, 4, and 5 fouls so far in the series in each game. He's a really productive player when he gets minutes, but the minutes have been cut down because of the foul trouble. I think one of these games, Triple J is going to stay out of foul trouble and he's going to play huge minutes and he's going to crush. It could be today. I've continued to roster Triple J and it's obviously not gone well, but his numbers are just so good when he starts at center, and getting Steven Adams out of there, putting Triple J at the 5 is huge for his upside. Hopefully he can stay out of foul trouble for once if he can. I think the upside is massive for Triple J, so I do like him on this slate. I'm kind of looking to go back to him. He's only $6K on Draftkings, so he's not that expensive. He's not that expensive on Yahoo either, $26 over there. And I think his ownership, especially since he's been in foul trouble and hasn't been that productive, I think his ownership might not be that high. He really wasn't that popular last slate, even when it was announced that he was starting at center. So I do like Triple J today. Worth noting that Dylan Brooks is questionable. I would expect him to play, but he's been pretty terrible in this series, so maybe he's been dealing with an injury. I don't really know. If he plays, he's an okay option, but again, he's been really bad in this series. Minutes are still going to be good, though. He's a fine play, but I would definitely rather get up to like Bane and Triple J. Brandon Clark, worth noting that he's been really good in this series, but minutes have been really good for him. And I think Steven Adams pretty much being out of the rotation is obviously a boost for Brandon Clark. Brandon Clark did not start last game, but he did start the second half over Kyle Anderson. So we'll have to pay attention to the starting lineup for Memphis. Right now, I'm expecting Kyle Anderson to start again, but they could start Brandon Clark at center if they wanted to. And he's been productive in the minutes he's gotten. At 5K, I think the price tag's still probably too cheap for Clark if he continues to play high 20s minutes, because he is a very productive player when he gets minutes. And I think the minutes will continue to be there with how well he's played. So I'm kind of interested in Brandon Clark. And the last guy I want to mention is Kyle Anderson. So he did start last game. Was not super productive, only had 16 DraftKings points, but he did play 26 minutes. I think if he's starting again, we probably get high 20s, maybe 30 minutes from Kyle Anderson. He's normally been a decent point per minute player. He's never been a guy that's going to put up like 50 DraftKings points or anything, but at his salary, you don't need him to put up 50 DK points. If Kyle Anderson plays 30 minutes and scores 28 DraftKings points today, he's probably going to be one of the better value plays, because value is always hard to find on these playoff slates. So if Kyle Anderson does start again, I do like him quite a bit for value. He's small forward and power forward eligible on DK, and he's only 4,300, and he's really cheap on Yahoo. He's a power forward over there. He's only $11. I think if he's starting, he looks like one of the better value plays just kind of overall today. But that's really it for Memphis. I don't see anything else that stands out here. Dylan Brooks, with him being questionable, if he does get ruled out, that could open up some value. I don't know who would start for Brooks. They could slide Anderson down to the 3, put Triple J at the 4, and then start Brandon Clark at the 5. Like, that's probably what they do. But they could start like Zaire Williams. I don't think I'd really be into him, though. If Melton were to start, I'd have some interest there, but I don't think he starts. So right now, I'm just going to expect Dylan Brooks to play, but we could maybe get some value from Memphis, if he does get ruled out. But let's go ahead and talk about Minnesota now before we do in the video. So looking at the Timberwolves here, you got the big 3 with Cat, Edwards, Russell. Cat, so far, the last 2 games has just been brutal. I mean, 28 minutes in a massive blowout where he was in foul trouble. Last game, they had a huge lead and they blew it in the second half. Cat was in foul trouble last game. He just was terrible. He took 4 shots. Like, I feel like one of these games, it could be today. Like, Karl-Anthony Towns is going to bounce back and have a huge game. I mean, he was great in game 1, played 43 minutes, had 52 DK points. And since then, he's just been terrible. He's been in foul trouble each game. His minutes have been cut way down. I think if Cat stays out of foul trouble, he plays like 40, 42 minutes today. And obviously the upside at 8,900 is high when he's playing that many minutes. So I still think Cat is in play today. I do have some interest in him. It's just, can he stay out of foul trouble? That's the question. But so far, the last 2 games, he's not been able to do that. Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell, I mean, these guys are like just boom-bust options. I mean, Anthony Edwards, he can put up 50 fantasy points any night. He can also put up 30 fantasy points any night. Last 2 games have been pretty bad for Anthony Edwards, 30 and 33 DK points, but he was great in game 1. He had 54 DK points. I don't have a ton of confidence in Anthony Edwards, but he should play big minutes if the game's close, and if he gets hot from the field, he can obviously put up a huge game, but I think he's just kind of a GPP option. Same for D'Angelo Russell. I mean, he was great in game 3 last game, but then games 1 and 2, he was terrible. It's like, it's hard to predict which one of these Minnesota guys is going to have the big game. Last game it was Edwards. 2 games ago, they all sucked. In game 1, they were all kind of solid except for Russell. So just don't know when it comes to the Minnesota guys. If I had to rank them, I probably would rank them how they're priced, with Cat being my favorite, then Edwards, then Russell. They're all playable. I would probably max one of the 3. I don't think I'd play like 2 of those 3 in the same lineup. I definitely wouldn't play all 3 in one single lineup. And the rest of Minnesota, like, you got Patrick Beverley, who just continues to be a solid mid-range point guard option. He probably plays low 30s minutes here if the game's close and he's not in foul trouble. Beverly's been pretty decent on a point per minute basis when he's gotten minutes. He averages right around a fantasy point per minute. So at 5,400, like I think Patrick Beverly's totally in play today. And then the other guy I want to mention is Jared Vanderbilt. So Jared Vanderbilt last game just out of nowhere played 32 minutes. His minutes were really low in games 1 and 2. He only played 19 minutes in game 1. He played literally 9 minutes in game 2. Well, last game, Minnesota pretty much ran an 8-man rotation with obviously the 5 starters, and then off the bench, McDaniels played, Naz Reid played, and Taurean Prince played. Nobody else got minutes. So if they run an 8-man rotation again, I would think Vanderbilt plays at least like 20, 25 minutes. I don't know if he plays 32 again. But at 3,700, if we do get like 25 minutes from Jared Vanderbilt, he is definitely one of the better punt value plays. There's really not much value below 4K that even looks that decent. But I think Vanderbilt at 3,700, especially if Minnesota runs an 8-man rotation again, he will be someone I look to target for value. I'll be interested to see like what his projected ownership is. I think he'll be pretty popular after last game, but I do have to mention Vanderbilt. Malik Beasley off the bench is fine. He probably plays 25 to 30 minutes. He always can get hot from the field. Doesn't stand out his salary, but he's playable. And then again, like McDaniels probably plays like 20, 25 minutes. Okay punt option. Naz Reid, he's just going to back up Cat. Probably only play like maybe 5 to 10 minutes. He won't play enough to be viable. Taurean Prince, he only played a few minutes last game. Barely was in the rotation. So that's really it for Minnesota. I think we kind of talked about everything on Minnesota, and that's really it for Saturday's 4 games. So I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. As always, appreciate you watching this video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well, guys. Make sure to check out PrizePicks, the sponsor of this video. You can sign up for PrizePicks and use my promo code NOAH. They will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And like we talked about at the beginning, PrizePicks is a player prop-based DFS site, so you just pick the over or the under on players' projections. It's very simple, very easy to use. You can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. You can mix and match sports. You can run different entries with multiple sports. You don't have to do just NBA. So if you like to look at baseball, soccer, PGA, whatever it may be, PrizePicks probably offers it. I know the USFL started up. I don't really look at USFL, but it's available on PrizePicks. So if you're into that, they offer that as well. They offer props for that. So a lot of props on PrizePicks. You can take a look at their board, see what they have available, make some picks for yourself. Just make sure when you do sign up, use promo code NOAH. You'll get your first deposit match up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. But that's all that I got for this Saturday slate, guys. Appreciate you watching. Enjoy your Saturday, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.